So when you're a business, one of the things you do want to do is look for incentives. Look for business parks. Now this is the Port Arthur Business Park again. They got a beautiful sign on West Port Arthur Road. As you can see, they got quite a bit of business out here, and we're just going to do one more panoramic view of it. Hi, this is Mark Sokolow, and this is a lesson plan on real estate development. I have purchased or sold quite a bit of property over the years, and one of the first things that you need to know is the property that you're buying suitable for your business operations? One of the things you look at, of course, is location. Is it close to your suppliers? Is it close to your customers? Is there an adequate labor pool? Is there access for products and supplies? If you're in a refinery, you need to be next to the intercoastal canal and barge traffic, especially if you're on the Gulf Coast. That's why so many people locate in Port Arthur or Freeport or Baytown, the refineries, in order to be close to the intercoastal canal and barge traffic. You also need to be close to pipelines for supply and distribution if you're a refinery or a chemical plant. Depending on your needs, you may need to be close to an airport. You may need to be close to ports for bringing in goods or shipping out goods. You need to be next to highways. Another thing that you may want to look at is the quality of life. Of course, the first aspect is your business operations. Second aspect is the quality of life. Then, depending on the city, you look at zoning. You know, is the area of the land that you're buying can't be used for that purpose? Is it zoned industrial? Is it zoned commercial? You look at the building codes. The building codes may be so strict that you may not be able to build it for your budget. And then you look at the jurisdictions. Are you within a city? Are you within an extraterritorial jurisdiction? You will look at, if you are within a city, you need to look at their building codes. If you're within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, which is a portion of land around a city that a city can annex, you may want to enter into an industrial district agreement with them so that they won't annex you. When you're looking at the jurisdiction of cities and other government entities, you're looking at what taxes you're going to be paying to them and what's the availability of incentives either from them or their economic development corporations. And then you need to look at their processes for plat approval and dedications. Of course, you need to see, once you decide that you want the property, the location's good, you need to decide, well, is the price agreeable? And then you need to see whether or not the title is clear. Do they have good title? Is there deed restrictions on that don't allow you to do what you want to do? Is there oil and gas leases on the property with drill sites? Are there pipeline easements? And then you get into more fundamental issues. Is there adequate drainage? Do you have to build detention ponds? Are there wetlands? If you're on the Gulf Coast, don't be surprised that a lot of your property has wetlands. And when you get up the area around Austin, you have to worry about karst, which is sort of like caves, and they have sort of like, it's not bugs, but it's like endangered species that are within the caves, and you just can't build over the karst. Sort of unique to the Austin area. One of the things you need to look at is there any environmental contamination at the site. Phase 1 is pretty much a type of report you get where they go ahead and just look at the records. Phase 2 is where they actually do soil samples. Especially in the Gulf Coast and certain of the areas, the industrial areas, you do need to worry about whether or not there's been contamination of the site. So are roads adequate? Is there access to water and sewer? Is there access to electric lines? Is there access to gas lines? When you do a purchase agreement, of course, you describe the property, the price, the earnest money. You have a fee to terminate it. If you find that it's not feasible, you put in how much your broker's commissions, who pays for the title insurance, what type of records do you want produced during your feasibility period. Usually you ask for whether it could be 60 or 120 days to check the property out. And during that time, you can do soil tests, you can do tests on the property, and you also get a chance to get a title report. There's various type of ownership interests. People can have fee simple, or sometimes they have life estates. You'll find that many people have given out easements, whether it's to electric companies, they've given out leases to oil and gas companies. This is actually quite common. And then there's various types of deeds that you can get. General warranty deed, which is of course the best, but a lot of people end up getting a special warranty deed, which only warrants that the grantor had title during his ownership. A quitclaim deed is they're just deeding whatever interest, if any, that they had. And you find that most title companies will not accept quitclaim deeds. So they either be a special warranty deed or a general warranty deed. Adverse possession. Every now and then people get property by adverse possession, but then they have to have had it for many years and it has to be open and visible, and depending on the state where you're at, it gives you the amount of time that they have had to have it. Every now and then you can have obtained property by eminent domain. That's by condemnation. That's usually a government entity that does that, or sometimes a pipeline company can do it. Now in a few minutes we're going to be looking at an example of a $1,236,000 agreement to purchase land for the City of Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. Now this is the real estate agreement between the courts, Colleen Rice, Anna Edwardson, and the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. Here the seller is agreeing to sell approximately 302 acres of land situated in Jefferson County. The sales price is $1,250,000. At closing, they're going to pay $125,000, and the balance is going to be payable at a promissory note of $1,125,000, payable in full on or before January 10th, 2001. Now this agreement was approved by the City of Port Arthur by Resolution 01-55, and you can see the entire agreement at their website. Now, the seller reserving the oil, gas, sulfur, and other mineral interests. That's pretty typical in Texas, that the seller will retain their minerals in the oil and gas. They're also retaining a 4-acre drill site at the property, and they're also retaining reasonable rights of ingress, egress, or access to those drill sites. They're also saying here at closing they're going to execute a special warranty deed. Now this is when the Economic Development Corporation is doing their due diligence. Within 30 days they're going to get a title report to check the property. Within 45 days they're going to get a survey of the property. Within 45 days, again, they're going to conduct engineering surveys and feasibility studies. Within 60 days, they're going to do environmental assessments. It's like phase 1 or phase 2 on the property. They're going to do a wetlands assessment on the property. Now, the way this works, based on these assessments, if the purchaser of the Economic Development Corporation decides that it's just not what they thought it would be, or they decide it's just not suitable, they can declare the agreement null and void and terminate it. Now here's warranties by the seller that there's no parties on the property acting as lessees, and there's no threat and condemnation. In this case, neither party is represented by a broker. Now, they're saying the purchaser is an economic development corporation. They're describing the parties. Now, as prerequisite to closing, of course, the agreement has to be approved by the City of Port Arthur, and of course we did. It was approved by the Economic Development Corporation and then by the City of Port Arthur. Here's notice provision. If there's, you notify Dave Foster of the Economic Development Corporation, and you notify these the addresses of the sellers. And here's what it's called: a 1031 election. If the purchaser so desires, he can take advantage of the 1031 provisions of the Internal Revenue Code. And then, of course, you have a signature line. So this is a really good example of a economic development, of a purchase agreement by an economic development corporation. And in fact, the land was purchased and the business park was built thereon.